Hello, everyone, and welcome to the QT2 Systems St. Anthony's Triathlon course preview. My name is Reem Jishi. I'm the content director for QT2, and our presenter this evening is Coach Eric Kahl. Eric has been competing in triathlons and endurance sports since the mid-90s and has been coaching endurance athletes for 2 decades. He's raced all types of endurance events, from sprint distance to multiple Ironman events and multi-day adventure races. In addition to his extensive racing experience, Eric has coached hundreds of athletes, from first-timers to multiple world champion qualifiers in both the 70.3 and 140.6 distances. The foundation for his coaching is based upon 3 essential points: an individualized approach to maximize the athlete's ability, consistency, and the right mental attitude. Eric has raced the St. Anthony's Triathlon, started first time in the 1990s. So he beats me. My first one was in 2000. And he has raced it countless times since then. And so he's the perfect person to be presenting for us this evening. Welcome, Eric. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Reem. Thank you for the great introduction. Looking forward to it. This is anybody that knows me knows that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this race. I have seen great days myself and have struggled on that course a little bit. So I'm looking forward to going over course preview. Fun fact about this race, it's been going on for about 40 years, actually. This year will be the 40th anniversary. Back in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, people could actually qualify for Kona at St. Anthony's. This is not a very well-known fact, but it's a true fact. This race has been going on for a very long time. Has grown tremendously. I think its highest time, it probably had close to 6,000 people racing it. I think the numbers are probably a little bit more along the 2,000 now, but nonetheless, it's a great event. So let's get rolling here. What to expect from today? I'm going to go over our QT2 Five Cornerstones, some information on the final weeks, pre-race in check-in logistics, day before the race, a little course preview in the race day, pacing and feeling. If you guys have any questions, just drop it down on the chat there, and Reem can chime in and help me fill in the blank if I forgot something. So starting with our 5 cornerstones, obviously training is what we do. We're in the business of coaching athletes to do well. So all of our athletes, we work really hard to get them well trained. The second cornerstone is restoration and day in, day out nutrition, making sure your athletes are recovering well and utilizing nutrition the proper way so they can perform at their best. Third cornerstone is fueling. This goes on for race day and training, actually. So the top 3 here are things that we do in preparation for the race, in combination with pacing on race day and the mental fitness. That we believe that that's the best combination to have a solid race. So the combination of all 5 is part of the execution part of the race. So final weeks, training, pacing. Unfortunately, I am not going to disclose any secret training 2 weeks out from the race. Right now, first thing you guys should be worried about is making sure that you're going to have a good taper, so you show up at race feeling fresh, feeling good, and ready to have a good race. Now, over the next couple of weeks, or we have just over 2 weeks, there's some specific things that you could do. I like to say that probably no fitness is going to be gained over the next couple of weeks, but you guys can do some race rehearsals, some specific workouts that are just going to help you tune into your pace or your effort for the race. Some of the workouts I recommend would be obviously open water swims. For anybody that doesn't live here in Florida, open water is very important. We get to swim in the Gulf, but I know a lot of our Northerners athletes don't have that privilege. So Get some open water swims, maybe practice some turns, maybe put in some race efforts with the group in the water, maybe bumping into each other a little bit, and just to kind of feel for what it could be like on race day. The bike course, it's got literally 27 turns. So one of the specific workouts I would suggest is making a turn, getting up off the saddle, maybe sprinting a little bit, and then settling back down into your race effort. Obviously, if you live close by, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go train on that course. But it's not a big deal for this event, just because it's basically a flat course. So if you can get some flat roads, enjoy it. You don't need to make a trip there for that. One of the big ones is dress rehearsal. I mean, practice what you want to do on race day. That would be your outfit, your breakfast, your effort, your pacing, your heart rate, whatever measurement you use. A good race rehearsal will help you show up on race day, ready to go. A lot of times athletes spend a lot of time doing a bike to run race rehearsal, but very few times doing a swim to bike rehearsal. And they feel the difference. They get on the bike like, oh, I forgot what it felt like to get on the bike after swimming a 1500 or whatever distance race they're doing. So that would be a good little workout to do. Continuing with the training and pacing, over the next couple of weeks, you should have a good idea of what heart rate range you're going to stay within, or what perceived exertion you feel like you can hold for the entire race. Obviously, if you have a power meter, it's no different. You should be honing your workouts. The last few workouts should be very specific to, for example, if you want to hold 230 watts on the bike, you should be able to do several workouts or several intervals within a workout where you can hold that power or that heart rate for whatever reason, and feel comfortable that you can get off the bike and run after that. I mentioned that earlier, there's no fitness gains that happened in the last couple of weeks. You want to focus on the frequency of the workouts and make sure you're feeling the right effort for the workout. Do not overtrain. A lot of times athletes feel like they can cram workouts over the last couple of weeks, either because they didn't follow the plan or didn't have a plan, but they feel like if they squeeze in a couple extra workouts, it's going to make them better. Unfortunately, it tends to make them overtrain. So if anything, you want to side on err on the side of caution, or maybe less. You're better off going into a race 5% or 10% undertrained than just 1% overtrained, because it'll cost you. Excuse me. Like I said, you want to make sure you're well rested. You want to make sure you're sharp. So the sharp is the key word there, because different athletes taper differently depending if they're aerobic or anaerobically, or anaerobic athletes. So a lot of times we hear athletes saying that they showed up and they just felt sluggish. Sometimes they actually came into the race maybe too rested. They needed to have some workouts that maybe challenged them a little bit more, just to get their muscles engaged. But the overall plan should be recovery is king at this point. Okay, include several days off leading into the race. So we're going to talk a little bit about feeling. I'm going to buzz through a lot of the slides in the beginning, just because I want to get to the race preview or the course preview part of it. So if I'm going too fast, again, just ask a couple questions. If not, just save your questions for the end. So you want to practice your nutrition. We talk about training your gut. So every workout that you're going out there, you have the opportunity to train exactly what you want to do on race day. If you're going to be drinking Gatorade on race day, I highly recommend you practice with Gatorade. So once race day comes, it's one less thing that you need to stress if your body's going to be happy with it, or how does it taste, or whatever gel you plan on using on race day. Just practice with it. Again, we want to train our gut. You want to train our gut at the same effort that you're going to do on race day. So just don't go out for an easy bike ride and drink 2 bottles of Gatorade or whatever it is, and then expect that on race day, when you're going at a much harder effort and you try to drink maybe 2 bottles per hour, that your body's going to react the same, because it really won't. And then, especially over the next couple of weeks, make sure that you're getting some recovery drinks. Obviously, our sponsor, Clean Recovery, is a great product. But you want to make sure that you recover from every workout, so your next workout, you could be fresh and ready to go. Many times the difference in between a great race and a mediocre race is the ability to nail your nutrition, your fueling. Again, so the more you practice, the easier it gets to understand your needs when it comes to nutrition. Take a quick sip of water here. All right, mental fitness. This is a good time to start visualizing how you wanna feel on race day, how you want to feel, before the swim, how you want to feel during the swim. If something happens, how you're going to address that. This is the time to do that, because our volume is decreasing right now. So you're going to have some extra time. So make sure to spend time doing that. Spend time practicing your transition. A lot of athletes don't practice transition until race day. And we know that depending on the venue, you could lose a minute or two to your competitor just because of transition, just because you didn't have your stuff set up properly and you're kind of struggling through it. So practice those. Like I said, visualize how you want to feel when things are working, but also have a plan of how to react if something goes wrong. If you're not feeling as well on the swim or as fluid as you figured that you should be, start getting your goals down. We like to focus on process goals. Those are things that you can control 100% of the time, versus an outcome goal, meaning I want to win my race, my age group. You have some control over that if your fitness is there, but you can't control who's going to show up. You can't control how well they're trained. So focus on the few things that you can control, which would be your attitude, your effort, and your pacing. All right. And then again, I keep saying, start feeling, getting a visual for how you want to feel on race day. And nutrition restoration. So the week leading into the race, you want to eat fairly regular, if anything, more on the blend side. Hydration becomes a big part of what you want to start focusing on. For anyone that has done this race, it can be pretty hot. So many times I'll start hydrating with electrolytes 2 or 3 days before the race, just to keep all my electrolytes topped off. Again, it tends to be the first heat wave of the year, and most of us are not used to it. So that run course can get pretty hot. And then one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, but we highly recommend that people kind of cut back a little bit on caffeine the week or two, depending on the race, leading into the race. So on race day, when you do have a little caffeine, it does have a much better effect on how you feel, and it has almost like a more potent effect than if you've been doing it all along. Anyone that can sleep 8+ hours, God bless you. I'm not one of those. I wish I could, but focus on your sleep, focus on your rest. Rest is important at this point. Stay off your feet as much as possible the week leading into the race. Again, if you're traveling into St. Pete, do a little sightseeing, but don't spend 8 or 10 hours a day sightseeing or on your feet 2 to 3 days before the race, because otherwise your legs will not be ready for race day. Excuse me. So pre-race logistics. The athlete guide is available at the race site, which their website is satriathlon.com. They have a pretty good athlete guide, very well detailed with lots of information on it. let's say next week would be a good time to have your bike tuned up, have your bike clean, make sure your tires are in good shape, make sure everything is in good shape. So comes race day, everything's working properly. Make a list of what you want to pack, make a list of things you want to do, make a list of the gels, nutrition. This is the good time to literally make a list. Purchasing the items that you need. There might be some gels or extra electrolytes for the weekend. This gives you 2 weeks, approximately 2 weeks, for you to order stuff and receive it and have your products for race day. Charge and replace the batteries on your power meter, your heart rate monitor, your Garmin, whatever it is. Make sure everything's working properly. There's nothing worse than spending all this time training and putting the effort to train properly, and then you get on race day and your race is a little derailed because you forgot something simple like charging your Di2 or batteries for your heart rate monitor, something like that. Like I said, start packing. I am one of those that, after I've done a couple of race rehearsals, I'll literally get my race kit, whatever I'm going to wear, and I put it aside, and then I'll start putting my favorite sock aside, whatever running shoe, and then I'll get my transition bag, and I'll make sure that everything that I want for race day is set up and ready there. Typical example is I've had this race bag, I don't know, 5, 6 years. I know I probably have swimming goggles in there that are that old. So make sure that the goggles that you want to swim on race day are new goggles. They're working, they're fine. The rubber is not decomposed. Go through your transition bag from time to time. Make sure things are working. Make sure your race belt is there. If you're coming into town, confirm your reservations, hotel, flights, whatever, all that stuff. Once again, read the athlete's guide for a second time. There is good information there. All right, a little bit more on logistics, and then we're gonna. This is where the course preview starts right here. So everything happens there at the Vinoy Park in St. Pete. The expo is open on Friday from 12 to 6, and then Saturday from 9 to 6. They have some good vendors, some good sponsors. There's always some cool gadgets and products out there for us to take a look at it, but don't spend a lot of time on your feet at the expo in the sun, because you're potentially dehydrating yourself the day before the race or 2 days before the race. Athlete check-in happens on Friday from 12 to 6 and Saturday from 9 to 5. For the athlete check-in, make sure to bring your QR code confirmation. Last year they had one. I haven't seen one for this year yet. Or your email confirmation, whatever it is they're going to send. Make sure you have a photo ID. Make sure you have a USAT card. If you don't have a USAT card, they'll let you purchase a one-day liability on site that day. Friendly recommendation: get to the expo early, limit your time on your feet. You don't want to get dehydrated, thirsty, or just wear out your legs just looking around. From experience, there's probably not a lot that you need at expo. It's just fun to look at stuff, but nothing that you need to buy the day before, unless it's like last minute stuff. There is an official athlete briefing at the Vinoy Park on Saturday at 4 p.m. At the race sites. Most important part of this entire presentation probably is mandatory bike check-in is on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Anyone coming in and never done this race, you have to check in on Saturday. You have to put your bike in transition on Saturday. There is no bikes coming into transition on race day. So make sure that you allow yourself time to, if you're going to drive there, you're going to have to park. It's probably going to take you easily an hour from the time you checked in and got your race package to, it's a short little quarter-mile walk. Actually, not even it's right there anymore. It's a short little walk into transition. Transition is really big, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But make sure you rack your bike on Saturday. Another little key thing is don't overinflate your tires. If you're coming into town, most people tend to have their bikes in the hotel room. They pump up their tires while the bike is in a nice, comfortable 68 or 72 degree temperature room. They pump it up to 100 or whatever, 110 pounds. They take that bike outside. It's going to sit in the sun for multiple hours. Those tires tend to pop because the pressure goes up with the heat. So if anything, underinflate your tire before you check it in. You can always top it off on race morning. All right, day before. So now this will be Saturday. Talk a little bit about nutrition. We like to recommend that you taper your nutrition throughout the day on Saturday. So picture yourself having a large breakfast, a medium-sized lunch, and then like a light dinner. I would avoid anything spicy. I avoid too much fat, too much fiber. Keep it simple, keep it bland, keep it something that you know that you've done it before and your body is comfortable with that. Just some recommendations. 90 to 125 grams of carbohydrate, 20 grams of protein or less. That would be for the breakfast. And then, like I said, taper your food as the day goes on. If it's going to be a hot day, which it normally is, you can snack on some pretzels. I can't emphasize enough, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. I personally don't drink any free water 2 days before this race, just because I struggle with the heat. So what I mean, I don't drink free water. I only have water, straight up water with my meals. Everything else throughout the day will probably have electrolytes in it. On a side note, I would avoid drinks with electrolytes with 0 calories, just because those have artificial sweeteners. And if you drink too much of that, it can give you some GI issues on race day. Again, the day before the race, you're still avoiding the caffeine. You want the caffeine to have the most powerful impact on race day, on race morning. Okay. And again, stay off your feet as much as possible. If you're checking in that day, make a quick trip, walk around through the expo for literally 20 minutes, get your bike, rack it, and then get off your feet and relax for race morning. The day before, you could do a short little, we call it a shakeout run, a swim or a bike. Again, all you're doing here, you're just making sure your legs are moving. Again, you're not trying to do some super hard sets. I know that the swim course will be somewhat open, not the entire course. They do have like they recommend people swimming around across from the beach. You could do a short little run. Again, you just want to make sure that your legs are feeling good, but you're not trying to overdo too much the day before the race. If you haven't done so, make sure you charge your electronics, make sure you check your batteries, your Garmin, things like that. Get all your stuff ready for race morning. Again, maybe lay your kit on the bed, maybe lay your socks, make sure everything's working. If you're going to wear socks, a lot of times I recommend people putting a little Vaseline inside the socks to kind of keep it from preventing any blisters on the run. Make sure to bring your wetsuit or skin suits. I'll talk about that here on the next slide, I think, but we won't know until race morning if it is wetsuit legal. That race tends to be wetsuit legal majority of the time. Just make sure you have all your gear ready to go. And then start thinking, what are you going to wear before the race? What are you going to wear after the race? We will have our QT2 Rival tents out there. So if anybody wants to drop off their gear bag or whatever, we'll be out there on the course towards the last half a mile before the finish line on the run. And again, you want to start thinking about your race morning before and after the race nutrition. Okay. All right, so here we go. Race morning nutrition. Keep it simple. Best thing I can tell you. Normally recommend people finish eating 2 to 3 hours before the start of their race. If you're doing the If you're doing the sprint, your race starts a little bit later, around 8:30 in the morning. If you're doing the Olympic, the race starts around 7-ish, I believe. So make sure that the bulk of the eating is done about 2 to 3 hours before that. And then you want to just kind of sip on some electrolytes until the gun goes off. Think of simple carbohydrates for breakfast. Our staple, our core diet breakfast will be basically a cup of or 2 cups of applesauce, scoop of protein powder, maybe a banana on the side, and then sports drink. If you think about it, it tops all the levels of carbohydrates, simple sugar, and some fiber, and it's easy to digest. But if you never tried it, don't try it on race day. Try it over the next couple of days and see how your workouts go with that. I think I mentioned that already. Make sure you're sipping on sports drink until the race starts. I recommend having a gel, 10 to 15 minutes before the race start. Again, if you haven't had caffeine, this would be a good time to insert it again, or you can hold the caffeine for a little bit later on the bike course. All right, now this is where the fun begins. Course preview itself. I hope you guys can see my cursor here, but I'm pretty sure you guys can. So the inside line is the swim course for the sprint. I wouldn't get too caught up if there's going to be 4 buoys or 3 buoys until race morning, because some of these things do change. In the Olympic is the longer course out here. All right. This course tends to be, let me start with the times, I guess. So transition opens from 5:15 to 6:45, regardless of whatever race you're doing. Even if you're doing the sprint, they want athletes out of transition by 6:45. The first Olympic race will start around 6:50. They'll do the pro male, the pro female. And then they'll start trickling down to the age group. They tend to be 3 to 5 minutes apart once they kind of get things going. So they'll line up everybody on the beach, and then they just start bringing one wave into the start corral. Like I just said, it's a beach start, or tends to be a beach start. Last year was a beach start. The water temperature, again, will be announced in the morning. So what's wetsuit legal? Anything below 76.1. And I would bring a wetsuit, even if the day before the race it doesn't seem that cold, or your skin suit, and let the referees, the marshals, whoever make the recommendation in the morning. So I'm going to go over the course here pretty quick. I recommend for this swim light goggles, or medium or light tint goggles. So if you're looking at the swim course here, the sun rises kind of where the map key is. So you will have that sun on your left side for a little bit of the race, and then you won't have sun bothering you too much. And then, but on the way back into the wall, the sun will be, at that point, will be on your right side. For the ones doing the Olympic distance, it's a 1,500 meter swim. You can count on this swim being a little choppy. It's choppy pretty much every year. It depends on the wind. One thing that I can almost bet that it will be choppy is on this final section here, just because there's a big seawall right here where we come out, where transition is. So any little swell coming from most directions will hit that wall and then kind of wash back towards the swimmers coming in. So you will tend to see the swell once you make this first, or feel the swell, feel the waves, or whatever it is. Once you make this first left turn here heading out, and then you'll feel it again the closer you get to exiting the water. So there's a few stairs there. I don't know, 6, 8, 10 steps. There's normally volunteers helping you come out of the water and get onto the grass field where transition is. Now for the sprint athletes, obviously it's a much shorter swim. It's a 750-meter swim. You basically go out a little bit, you make a right turn, and then you come back onto the beach, basically a couple hundred yards from where you started, and then you have a nice little jog. And I'm talking, this has to be easily a half a mile, a quarter mile to a half a mile jog on the pathway before you get into transition the same way that the Olympic athletes do. What else? So, I mentioned that expect a light chop, at least a light chop, if not a little rough, depending on the winds. Did I cover everything here? I think I did. All right, so swim pacing. This is the important part. So regardless if you're a fast swimmer, slow swimmer, comfortable swimmer, and not very comfortable swimmer, I highly recommend you do a warm-up in the water 5 to 10 minutes, especially if it's a wetsuit legal race. What that will do is allow your body to get comfortable with the pressure of the wetsuit on your lungs. It is a little bit harder to breathe at first, but once you get your nerves out of the way, it's fine. Like I mentioned earlier, it is a beat start. Where should you line up? If you're not a fast swimmer, if you're not a great swimmer, please don't go to the front of the group. Just kind of, sit back a little bit. Let the faster swimmers go up front, just because you don't want to get trampled by them once the race starts. So I'm going to back up the screen here a little bit. Race starters over here. There's probably a good 50 yards that once the race starts, you can run kind of like shin deep water, or maybe knee deep water, before it gets deep enough that you have to start swimming. So it's kind of like a running start until it gets deep enough. The first couple hundred yards will set you up for either failure or success, depending on what kind of swimmer you are. I would say if you are not a strong swimmer, take the first couple buoys as a warm-up. You're not going to lose that much time, but you're going to feel better just starting slow. Break the swim course into thirds. The first third should be the slowest of all of them. The middle section, you're just kind of feeling good. You want to hold a steady pace. And then that last set, when you're coming down onto the wall, if you feel great, just push the pace a little bit. For majority of the swimmers, that's a good strategy. If you are a good swimmer, maybe the first couple hundred yards is going to be like an up tempo where you're trying to separate yourselves from some of the other swimmers, and then you're trying to find some fast feet. You can draft in the swim. We highly recommend you find some fast feet in front of you and just draft off of them. Just make sure that they know where they're going and they're not swimming off course. That's very common for people that are not used to doing open water swim. They're just not used to sighting too much, and they tend to swim a little off course. I touched a little bit on the pacing strategies there. The buoys, again, we won't know until how many buoys are out there until race morning. The course is pretty well marked. The buoys tend to be crowded when you go around the corner. So if you're coming into a turn and there's 20 people around you, do yourself a favor, just take like 2 or 3 strokes to the outside of the buoy and avoid the crowd so you're not getting trampled trying to come around the corner. Time cutoff. For the Olympic is 65 minutes. So you can basically swim 4 minutes per 100 or slower than that and still make the cutoff. And for the sprint is 35 minutes for the short distance of 750. Again, plenty of time. Hopefully none of you have to worry about that. Take your time. You're not gonna win or lose the race on a swim. But you can set yourself up for a good day or not in the swim. All right, so coming out of the swim, I'm going to talk about transition really quick. I don't have a slide on that. As I mentioned earlier, transition for this race is really big. There are literally columns and rows of racks. So you want to try to find a landmarker that you could use to find your bike later on. I highly recommend that when you rack your bike on Saturday, you walk towards where where you be coming in from the swim and kind of understand where your bike is going to be, just the general sense, and then do the same thing race morning, so you don't get lost and waste time trying to find your bike. Pretty common for this race. People do that. They don't check what the bike is. So basically on the left, you have the sprint map for the bike. And on the right, we have the Olympic map for the bike. These look pretty straight away, but there is literally 14 turns on the sprints, and there is 27 turns on the Olympic bike course. I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them. So this is a mixed open course. What do I mean by that? Parts of the course, there won't be any cars. Other parts of the course, there'll be some cars, but the race organizers do a tremendous job of having enough volunteers and police out there. It's very well marked. There's cones everywhere. But remember, you are on the road. Unfortunately, not every driver is paying attention. So don't just literally put your head down and just pretend that you're going to follow the leader. Do keep your eyes open for cars or motorcycles or other cyclists, as a matter of fact, from time to time. On the first part of the course, right after you mount your bike, there's about a quarter-mile section of cobblestone. You will hit that on the first part of the bike and at the very end of the bike. Be extremely careful on this section. There is no reason to go fast. There is no reason to go aero. Keep your eyes open, because this is one part of the course where we tend to see a lot of bottles flying out of the bikes. And if you ever try to run over, or if you ever run over a water bottle on the bike, it's a good way to crash pretty quickly. Again, be very cautious. As soon as you get on the bike, you're going to hit the cobblestone. Just make sure you clip, set up, and then you're going to be slowing down for maybe a minute, but it'll save you later on in the day. So you're having a good bike. I mentioned this earlier: 27 turns on the Olympic course. I think 14 on the sprint. Basically, if you're looking at this map here, the sprint course ends right here on 22nd, which is where my cursor is. That's where the turnaround is for the sprint, and then the Olympic progresses forward. If you're doing the Olympic course, as soon as you go past mile 10, you're going to hit the golf course, which is this green section here. There is 6 speed bumps on this little section here. You can ride through them. Just be very cautious. There are signs saying speed bump. I probably recommend people not be under aero bars. Just be careful if you're drinking something or having a gel, and definitely let others know that the speed bump is there as you're riding by. Just hate to see people maybe crash because they weren't paying attention. But the speed bumps are just before the aid station. There's an aid station at the end of the golf course. You kind of do kind of like almost a big U-turn, and then there's bathrooms on the aid station there. This is the only aid station on the bike. It's about 12 miles into the bike course. They do have water. They do have Gatorade. I can't remember if they have gels or anything there, but this race is fairly short. That maybe you just need a sip of water. And other than that, you should be able to rely on what you have on your bike. I talked about the aid station, and then they changed this year. Last year, they repaved this very bottom of the road here. This used to be a very bumpy section of the bike course, but last year it was smooth. It was beautiful. A little out and back here. So there's 2 distinct out and backs here, one right off the back and then one towards the end. You're going to have to do some sharp U-turns over there, so make sure you slow down and be safe on that. I'm going to talk. Okay, I'll jump on that in a second here. All right, so if you're racing by heart rate, use your heart rate as a gauge. I'm sorry, as a gauge. This is a pretty flat course. Your heart rate you can expect your heart rate to be 2 to 3 beats higher on the second part of the bike than the first. If you're using a power meter, this is a good course to execute even power just because it's a flat course. Again, the second half should be slightly higher than the first half. This is more for the Olympic. Don't cook yourself on the first 10 to 12 miles on the bike course. Save that for a little bit later in the day. Most people get too excited to get on the bike and they just hammer the first half of the bike and then struggle the second half. That's not a good way to race. As always, race your own race. Don't get caught up with other people. You train for this, execute your race, and have fun out there. Again, nutrition and hydration are going to be key for this race. Most people will be racing 2.5, 3 hours out there. So it's a long day for you to go if you're not hitting your nutrition properly. Penalties. This is a big one. These are the most common ones. I'm going to go over them quick. You must have a helmet to leave transition. It must be strapped or it must be clipped in with chin straps. Otherwise, they won't even let you out. New drafting rules. These are effective last month. So these came out last month. The new drafting zone for this distance bike race is 5 bike lengths. And you have 20 seconds to pass. So the 5 bike lengths is determined by the front end of your bike or the front of your tire to the back of the tire of the bike in front of you. So once you go in that 5 bike length zone, you have to pass them in 20 seconds, or you have to drop back outside of that within 20 seconds. Once you pass that person, their job is to drop back the same zone within 20 seconds. It doesn't mean that you need to squeeze your brakes and slow down. It just means that you were clearly passed and you should not draft the athlete in front of you. Blocking violation. We are to ride on the right side of the road unless we're passing people. We should only pass athletes on the left side. But once you complete the pass, the marshals do want you to get off that left lane and come back into the right side of the road as much as possible. No headphones allowed on the course, not on the bike, not on the run. No outside assistant. You can have assistance from other competitors. Littering violation, that would be if you throw away your junk wrapper or something like that. We're coming into someone's house or neighborhood. Let's be courteous and keep the course clean. And obviously no transferring race numbers. I mean, for some reason you can't do the race, you can't let your buddy race with your number. That's a big violation, and both people can be disqualified for years from racing. If you have any questions with the rules, just go ahead and go to teamusa.org and look at the latest rules. All right, we're almost there. The run course. So again, left side, you have the sprint. On the right side, you have the Olympic. This run course is not shaded. Let me emphasize that. This run course is going to be warm for most people, especially if the sun is up, especially if you're doing even the sprint. You're starting your race around 8:30 in the morning. So it'll probably be 9:30, 10 o'clock before you even starting your run, and which is about the same time that some Olympic athletes will be out there. So this run tends to be hot. I like to run with a little flask in my hand for the first mile or two until I hit the aid stations. There's plenty of aid stations for the sprints. There's 2 aid stations that you hit them out and back, so 4 times. For the Olympic, there is 4 aid stations that you hit them out and back, so that's 8 chances to get fluids and stuff like that. Just on pacing again, you can expect that your heart rate's going to be 5 to 10 beats higher on the run than on the bike. If you're running with powered, again, this is a great course to execute even power pacing. But always expect, hopefully you practice that the second half of the run will be slightly faster than the first one. Just like on the bike, don't overdo it on the first couple miles, especially on this run. You come out of transition probably for the first half a mile. You're running through a corridor of people and there's tents and people are screaming and shouting. It's very easy to push the pace a little faster than you wanted to. But that'll set you up for failure later on in the day. So start slow and speed up is a better strategy than start fast and slow down. Again, for the run, just, the first mile should be a little easy until you find your running legs. What do you want to focus on the mental aspect of that day? Again, you want to focus on your process goals. The 3 things that you can control, which is your attitude, your pacing, and your feeling. If you control those 3 things, the outcome tends to follow. Okay, and then you want to focus on your target, your power pace, your heart rate, or your run pace. Make sure you stay within your limits. Know your effort. Know your fitness. And stay within your limits. Stick to the plan, but have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D, because not always races go as planned, but the most successful athletes know how to improvise on the fly. We hope that your race goes as planned, but at least have a plan B yourself. Okay. Any outcome should be left for the second half of the run. Hopefully, if you pace your bike, you're swimming your bike properly, you have fresh legs, and you can push your pace a little bit faster on the second half. And again, do your race within your limits. Focus on nutrition, focus on hydration, focus on your pacing, and have a great day. Pretty sure this is coming to the last slide here. As soon as you finish the race, make sure you hydrate well. There's some good food there at the venue. Make sure you start your refueling right away. After about 30-40 minutes, maybe do a little stretching and celebrate. Bike checkout, we're not allowed to go back into transition until probably somewhere around 11 o'clock or so, or until the last cyclists have come in from the sprint. So don't expect to finish a race and go right back and get your bike, because it won't be like that. Awards normally start around 11:30. There's normally live music there. There's a party going on. Like I mentioned, we'll have our tent about half a mile from the finish line on the run course. Everyone's welcome to come back and hang out with us and cheer other athletes in, and celebrate with your teammates. It's an accomplishment. Hang out, talk to people, meet people, make friends, and celebrate. I believe this is the end. Yes, it is. So I know I powered through this. I was trying to be quick. I knew I had a lot of slides there and try to keep it at about an hour 45, or under an hour, I'm sorry, about 45 minutes, and I just hit it there. So if you have any questions, shoot them. I'll wait for Reem to interject here for a little bit.
Yeah, no, that was great, Eric. It was so detailed on the course and what to expect on race day. So very much appreciate you taking the time. Eric's email is here. So if you're watching this after the fact and you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can also reach me. My email is reem@QT2systems.com. And we hope to see a lot of you at St. Anthony's. Thank you very much, Eric.
All right. Thank you, Reem. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks.